While others talk theory from their studios, I take you into the field to show you real deals, real investors, and real results. This is not classroom real estate. This is the unfiltered, boots on the ground playbook of the pros. Hi guys, my name is Brian Tripp. I live in Birmingham, Alabama, but I travel all across the country to bring you in-person interviews and property walkthroughs of professional real estate entrepreneurs. I'm so glad you're along for the ride, so let's get into today's show. So guys, today we are in Charleston, South Carolina with Ron Phillips. And Ron, I'm excited. First of all, thank you for inviting me into your home. It's a beautiful home. We're right here on the water. It's awesome to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Charleston does not suck. It's a cool place.
It's a little
Thanks for coming, man.
Human. No, so glad to be here. We're going to try to talk about a lot of things, try to provide a lot of value for the audience today. I'm going to kind of go in a direction where I know that you do, but I know you do so much stuff, so we could be going down any kind of rabbit hole. But I just really want to start. When I think of you, I think of someone who is super in tune to the real estate market across the nation. You know, talk about real estate market. Well, it's like, well, which one? You're really kind of tuned in all across the country because I know that you have been selling turnkey properties for a very long time. And I want to just kind of start right there. When it comes to the real estate market, I don't know if there's like a national market. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. But when it comes to just the overall real estate market, and if you want to get specific in certain kind of areas of the country, you can. But where are we? Where do we sit today?
I mean, there is a national real estate market, but the talking heads that use the national numbers to produce a national phenomenon, well, that's not true. Real estate's local. But there's clearly national numbers everybody should look at. Then wherever you are, wherever you're doing business, you should know that market better than anybody else, because the market in California is entirely different than it is in South Carolina or Memphis, Tennessee, or Kansas City or anywhere else, right? Same thing all the way up the coast and down the coast. Even, it gets really market specific. Like, we were in Florida looking at property, my wife and I, and the Gulf side is entirely different than the Atlantic side. It's just completely different. And Miami is an entirely different market than West Palm, and West Palm is an entirely different market than Tampa. They're just different. It's all in Florida, completely different. And then Cape Coral and Lee County is completely different. Like the whole state, everything is unique.
And then the Panhandle you didn't mention, that's Alabama.
That's not really Florida. Is it Florida? I think it is.
Florida did steal a lot of our coast, but
yeah.
Basically Alabama.
So there's a whole other real estate thing there, right? What do they call that when you put up a fence, and if it's there long enough, it's yours?
Yeah, eminent domain.
Eminent domain. Yeah. Adverse possession. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, that happened to you guys. It's unfortunate.
Right. This, I think, is the Spanish.
Or fortunate, depending on who you ask.
I think it was happened in the 1600s before
we
were ever a country. But from a national standpoint, where are we? Like, I hear so many people talking about that we're just kind of like, we're kind of in this no man's land of some people, some house flippers I talk to. This is really, pretty universal. It's in a lot of different places that I'm having these conversations. You're a house flipper. It's like, I don't want to take on too many right now because I don't know what's about to happen. If you're trying to buy and hold real estate, like maybe if it's turnkey, maybe it's not, but I'm fighting interest rates. I'm fighting insurance, which is bananas. Even property taxes have gone up, and I can't cash flow like I could before. So like, I don't even know where we are today.
Yeah, it's people let me say a couple of things. Number one, people have been prognosticating the death of real estate, another 2008 since 2018. I've been hearing it since 2018.
Before that?
But probably before that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, super loud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like 2018, like get ready, because in 2018, it's the 10-year mark. Like this is going to happen. Yeah. And I would show up and I'd be like, yeah, but like based on what?
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't have to like show me something that says this is going to happen. And then COVID hits. I mean, people were having special meetings to go to prep for this onslaught of real estate that was going to come, this foreclosure tsunami that was going to come,
and
right?
The exact
6 months, 8 months.
opposite happened.
Yeah, I'm like, And I'm in those meetings, I'm like, wait a second, like, and the whole this whole period between 2009 2010 through 2018, we hadn't built enough houses. So the glut of homes got taken off of the market. Well, first off, rewind the tape, talking about national market. Back in the day, we didn't have a national real estate crisis. We had a localized, very psychotic real estate crisis caused by banks and,
Greed.
Investors. I don't know if you can call them investors, gamblers in specific markets where there was a gigantic overproduction of homes. And then because the feds step in and they make the banks dump real estate, their real estate holdings, and wholesale across the country. So not just in Florida, not just in Phoenix, not just in Vegas, not just in California, not just in the markets where there was a massive problem, all across the country. And because they did that, and simultaneously, they fixed the appraisal industry, where now the three ways that you can appraise have turned into one, and it's comparable sales. This is what happened. All across the country, we were treated like Florida. In the Midwest and the Mid-South, where we didn't really have an overproduction of homes, and we still had demand, it didn't matter. Real estate prices got slashed because the banks were dumping properties. When they dumped the properties, now the real estate comp is here. That shut the building community off. The building community can't build now because there's no comps to support what they're building. It took years. It took 5 years just to hit bottom. Then it took years for us to come back out of it. By 2014, maybe 2015, you could see building starting to happen. So now in the majority of the country, we have a big, huge trough where there was not enough homes built. We still have demand. And in the areas where there was huge overproduction, it's all been taken off the market. And we still don't have enough homes built. And then it never caught up. It never, ever caught up. It's still not caught up. And here we are today with everybody saying that the real estate market's going to crash again.
Sorry for the quick interruption. Briefly, I just wanted to mention our mastermind conference that's coming up October 6th and 7th right here in Birmingham, Alabama. I want to invite you out here. I know a lot of y'all watch our YouTube videos, and I'm super, super grateful, but I want to meet you in person. If you have done real estate or you're getting started in real estate, this is the conference for you. It's a smaller, intimate environment to where we can actually help you. I've got a lot of great speakers coming, including my great friend Tom Kroll is going to be there, plus a lot of other folks from our region and from our area here in Central Alabama. So if you're in real estate, trying to get started in real estate, and you want to come meet me and hang out with other high-level real estate investors, come out to the Board of Advisors Mastermind Conference. It's in Birmingham, Alabama, October 6th and 7th. This is the thing that really launched my real estate journey back 13 years ago, is getting around high-level people in a smaller, intimate environment. So come on out, Birmingham, October 6th and 7th. Go to boamastermind.com, enter the promo code podcast. I'll see you guys in Birmingham. I remember seeing a graph a few years ago, maybe more than that, maybe 2020-ish, where, and I could be getting these numbers off a little bit, but something like 18 to 20 million homes were built in the 50s, same number in the 60s, same number in the 70s, same number in the 2010s. In the 2000s. The 2010s, from 08, 09, all the way up until the end of the decade, there was 4 million homes built. When it had been 18 to 20 million every single decade before that.
And you need about 1.5 million-ish just to keep pace with population growth, right? So we're millions in the hole still. And I was talking to somebody, a couple of days ago, and they were saying, but there's no demand now. And I'm like, no, there's a lot of demand still. The problem is the demand can't afford the houses. And I just interviewed on my podcast, I just interviewed one of the builders I've been working with since 2005, and he was explaining why it's unaffordable. And it's government intervention, it is inflation, which is government caused. This entire problem was exacerbated by the government getting involved after 2008 to begin with. If they'd just stayed out of it, it would have been over much, much quicker. And everybody would have been able to sell their properties for what they really should have sold for, instead of artificially smashing the market down for years and years, which made it almost impossible to build. They manipulate the market, and every time they do, it screws it up. And here we are. We have massive demand that can't afford the houses because they keep over-regulating. And they, in Florida, in a couple of markets in Florida, you couldn't get through the permit process. It took months and months and months and months to get through the permit process, and they needed homes. This was a few years ago. It's like that in a ton of markets, like in the Midwest, where you wouldn't think it's like California or Seattle. Like it is. It's becoming more and more that way everywhere. And so, in order for affordability to happen, in order to be able to build affordable houses, we need to cut some of that back so that the land doesn't cost so much. Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate. However, every 0.5% that the interest rates come down, I'm not saying that they are, but every 0.5% that the interest rates come down, there are so many people who can afford a home. It's millions of people who can afford a home. And what I keep telling people is the demand hasn't gone away. The ability for that demand to purchase the homes has gone away. And we don't have enough supply on the market right now. But if the interest rate comes down 0.5 point and 3 million people can now enter the market, those 3 million people are selling homes that are going to be on the market. And we're going to have the same thing that happened after COVID, where all of this demand that was gone, all of a sudden it shows up and gobbles all of the properties up. So
the demand is certainly always been there. There was a stretch there until kind of recently, until interest rates went up a couple of years ago. There was a stretch there where there was always demand. We were always record inventory on the MLS. It was like year after year after year. It's a new record being set, the inventory that's out there. And now we're in a situation where interest rates are still a little bit out of reach, it seems like. But the bigger issue I'm seeing is who's going to sell their house with a 2%, 2.5% interest rate?
Yeah, that's a problem. Then that's why when the interest rates come down a little bit, if they come down 0.5 point and 3 million people can now afford to buy in the country, and we don't have that many houses, and especially when you take the national number and actually localize it, then it could be a real problem of constraint, right? There's still a whole bunch of people who aren't going to sell because that's not enough for them to do the move up. Maybe 1% is enough for them to do the move up. So they're going to wait on another 0.5 point that may never even come. None of us really even know what's going to happen, right? Yeah, it's a really weird time. However, there's not a glut of foreclosures. The banks aren't in trouble. There's not this massive wave. I keep hearing about this massive wave that's coming from post-COVID. That's not coming either. None of this is happening. It's been said for years, but it's not going to happen.
It's almost like it's just stagnant. And I don't want to say stagnant completely, but it's not like it's just a weird time where you don't really see things. Nothing's clear. Nothing's clearly going this way or clearly going this way.
If I were a builder or a rehabber, like you were saying initially when we started in this line of questions, it's like, yeah, you'd have to be really careful right now because things are sitting longer. And I guess the other thing is we all got spoiled that our houses are going to sell in 30 minutes. And that's not a normal market. Like we barely started entering normal market a few months ago, and it's an uncomfortable feeling when you've been used to your property's going to close 30 days after you list it, not sell, close. And that's the interest that you have figured into your model, right? When all of a sudden you didn't figure in 4 months of interest, when 90 days is it's not a horrible market, man. I mean,
I I hear what you're saying. I understand why you're saying it. I think that so many people kind of gotten so used to it, though.
Yeah, we've been spoiled.
Well, you're saying
it's like we got spoiled with 2.5% interest rates, man. When I bought my first house, because I'm an old man, we had an 8.25% interest rate. And
how old are you, Ron? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm 51. My parents thought I stole that interest rate because they bought houses in the 80s when interest rates were like 12, 13, 14, 15%. And like the generations that have lived through this time are just remarkably spoiled.
I hear what you're saying, but you're talking about double-digit interest rates on a property that you're buying a $100,000 property at the time, $150,000 property. Your payment's still extraordinarily less.
With a $50,000 salary that was really, really doing well. Where today, $50,000, I mean,
absolutely, and not to mention what property taxes have done, and then insurance is it's almost become unaffordable, especially if you're in Charleston, South Carolina, if you're in a lot of markets in Florida, if you're in Alabama, you're on the coast, it becomes even more difficult.
It really is. I feel for the apartment folks who actually bought right. I don't feel too bad for the people who didn't buy right, but the people who bought right and still got caught with taxes and insurance. My insurance on some of my apartments doubled. And I mean, we account for growth, but nobody accounts for doubling of what is a really large line item on an apartment complex. We sell rental properties. In order to try to make these properties cash flow, in order to make the numbers work, we have to work on the insurance part to pull the levers that we can pull, right? And one of the things that we've done is create master insurance policies where, and we're in the process of creating even more products going direct to the carriers, where we're saying, hey, look, the properties that we sell aren't a bad risk. These are good risk properties, and here's the proof, because we've been doing this for 20 years. Like, here's the proof that these aren't a bad risk. We've been able to get better deals for our clients. And if you own an apartment building and you're not shopping, I mean, I just lowered mine $20,000 2 months ago because it went up again, and I was like, okay, I mean, you have to shop these days.
Right. So I'm glad you brought this up, because this is where I want to kind of go next. My next question was going to be, where can I get a return on my money if I'm trying to buy and hold? That's kind of maybe the theme of this next line of questioning. But you're talking about too, like these levers you're trying to pull, right? You're trying to sell turnkey property, okay? And you've got the purchase price, you've got the rent, now you've got maintenance, probably not CapEx. Most of these have been renovated.
Or they're new. That's
right, a lot of new builds. But you've got insurance, you've got property taxes. A lot of these turnkey companies, they're guaranteeing rents for a certain amount of time too. They're trying to pull some of these levers to let's guarantee rents for a certain amount of time. Let's get our insurance. Let's buy down the rate.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to talk about all those things, kind of take them one at a time. But the ultimate question here, Ron, is if I have money and I'm trying to invest my money, deploy my money, maybe I've got a W-2 somewhere else and I make good money. I want to get a good return on my money and I want to buy real estate. Where should I put that money?
Okay. Well, first off, we need to define what a good return is.
Okay.
If we're talking to real estate people who have the ability to advertise, negotiate, buy, renovate, refinance their properties, and do all of that themselves, well, that's going to be a different return than somebody.
Let's talk about that guy first.
Okay. So, I mean, people who can do that, that's a whole other lever. I mean, you have the ability to go out and negotiate a ridiculous deal on a property. Does it matter that the interest rate is 6.5 or 7? Not as much as it does to the guy who can't do that. Right. I hear people complaining. I think that the reason that a lot of the real estate investment folks that have been in the industry are complaining is because they're used to getting 18 to 20% cash on cash return
on a loan, on something
not a cap
financed.
rate, but on a financed property, and potentially double digit cap rates, right? Well, that's harder to do now, but I invite every one of them. So I invite every one of you listening, just rewind the tape 5 or 10 years and tell me where you really made your money.
Mm.
Did you make it from cash flow?
Mm-mm.
Because my bet is that the cash flow, at least initially, didn't really change anybody's life. My guess is that the cash flow was nice, and you were building this machine that ultimately someday would provide the cash flow. And sometime during that 5 to 10 year window, you turned around and you went, holy crap, my property's doubled in value. I bought this thing for $100,000. It's worth $250,000, and I didn't do anything but collect rent. Somebody also paid my mortgage down for me. And the whole time I didn't have any tax bill. So I go back to, what is a good return? Okay, maybe back in the day you could get a 20% cash on cash return and all of the things that we just talked about. Mm-hmm. Okay, so today, if you can get an 8 to 10% return and you get all of those things that we just talked about, well, if I add all of those up, that's still a double-digit return, and I dare you to get that anywhere else. I literally dare you to tell me somewhere else you can get that on a consistent basis. Because you can hit on the stock market in a few years, you can get that return, and then it gets wiped out, and then you've got to bring it back. That doesn't really happen that often in real estate. Mm-hmm. And it's the only asset class that I know of that even when that does happen, you still have somebody paying off your debt, you still have the cash flow from the property, and you're still getting tax benefit while you wait for the market to come back around. You stocks don't do that. So where do you put it? Well, you can put it anywhere where those numbers work. Literally anywhere those numbers work.
Let's talk to that turnkey buyer for a second, not the person that's probably, I'm in real estate, I'm a real estate professional, and I can potentially go out and negotiate my own deals. I'm a turnkey buyer. I've got a W-2. I want someone else to do all the work for me. Does it matter what market I'm in? Does it matter what age of property I'm buying? Does it matter who is doing the rehab and who's putting the tenant in, the property management company? Do all these things matter? I understand you have kind of a conflict of interest here as I ask this question because you're working with a lot of different sellers.
No, I don't have a conflict. I'll tell you, I'll answer every one of those questions. The market matters to the degree that it is a market that is growing and appreciating. So if it's a declining market, probably not the greatest place to buy.
How do we know if it's a declining market?
Well, there's some simple ways, and then you can do some research. Simple ways are just look outside. If there's cranes that are erecting buildings and big companies are moving in with lots of jobs, that's not a declining market. But if you leave your house or you visit this area that you want to invest in and the office buildings are boarded up and there's no cranes and big box retail chains are closing down, bad sign. So there's some anecdotal evidence, and then you can just, with the internet, you can know exactly what's happening in all of these places. Mm-hmm. Just look them up. Mm-hmm. Most areas are growing. There's very few places that are declining.
Right.
Most areas are growing, and I think we'll continue to do so. I think we're on a track where that's probably going to happen for at least several years.
Right.
So, area matters to that degree. Other than that, trying to time the market and pick the right market. By the time the media tells you it's the right market, the run that you were hoping you were going to get is over. It'll still probably do just fine, but the big huge home run deal that everybody's trying to catch, that probably is already gone. If you've heard about it, you have to be great at research, and then you kind of have to be Nostradamus a little bit to know that. What matters the most once you've chosen an area is the property manager. Mm. That is the key.
And Ron is about to tell us how to find the greatest bulletproof property management company across the country.
There is no such thing as a bulletproof property management company. But to find the best one, well, you can call us. We partner with the best ones. But if you're going to do this on your own, you need to have a really good BS meter because all of them know how to tell you that they're great. Telling you that they're great and actually being great are completely different things. But there's a couple of ways. I would ask them a series of questions. One of them that would be great is, what are you doing to make your team better? One of the organizations that we belong to is called NARPM. So that's the National Association of Residential Property Managers. It's a group of property managers that are constantly trying to better themselves, better the industry. And they create standards and things like that. If the property manager belongs to NARPM, that's good. That doesn't necessarily mean they're bulletproof, but it doesn't mean that it's good, right? They're trying. How many properties do they manage? What is their turn time?
What's a good number for how many they manage? What should we look for there?
It doesn't matter. That there's a secondary question to that, right? So if they manage a couple hundred properties, then what's the growth rate and what's your plan? Because we find that property management companies between like 250 and 750 have problems scaling, because inside of there they need systems and they need people. And property management companies, a lot of people think that they get paid a ton of money to do what they do, and they don't. It is a very small margin business. And when you're trying to grow from a little company into a bigger, medium-sized company, there's a gap in there where sometimes investors get lost. So no problem with a small company who's got everything tight. It's when that small company starts to want to become a medium-sized company and grow, they have to have the balance sheet to be able to make that happen. And they have to be tech forward enough to be able to kind of step over the people that they would normally need. So what kind of tech do you use? And then turn time. Turn times are critical. How quickly can they get your property back on the market after a tenant? The other thing is, do you guys accept partial payments? It's a super simple question to ask. Do you accept partial payments? If they accept partial payments, I would never sign with somebody who accepts partial payments, because in almost every state in the country, if you accept a partial payment, you have to start over on the eviction process. So there's some simple things like that you can ask that you can tell whether or not they know what they're talking about. But turn times are a really, really big one. What's their percentage of maintenance cost? If it's high, that means that's a profit center for them.
Mm-hmm.
You want somebody to take care of your maintenance. You just don't want somebody, and you want them profiting. You just don't want it to be a big profit center for them. Property management's critical.
It's critical, and it's arguably the toughest business to be in real estate.
It really is. It's very difficult to scale.
Job. If it's like being a referee.
On a good day, you can piss both sides off.
That's true too.
Yeah, right. So if you own property, be kind to your manager. It's easy to be pissed at them. They don't get a whole lot of kindness. If you want somebody who's really fighting for you, be kind to your property manager. They're literally the people who are managing your asset, your multiple $100,000 asset, right?
Yes. Yeah. All right, so property management is critical. So we're talking about like, how do we find like area, just growth area, you said. Next is pick the property management, which is almost more important than the property itself, it seems like.
It's more important than the property, and it's more important than the area.
Okay.
It is the most important thing to get right.
Is there
and it's the most important thing, if it's not right, to fire fast and change. It's that important.
What would you rather take today? New construction, turnkey on new construction, or something that's been renovated?
Almost all day long, new construction. It's just for now, this is a personal thing, right? For me, I don't really want to be bothered by my properties. And new construction just doesn't cause very many problems. There's not that much that can break. Typically get a higher quality tenant. And so it's just easier.
And there is build to rent has been this thing for the past few years now, that it's happening almost everywhere now.
Yeah.
Like this whole build to rent thing.
It's funny, like it's a new thing.
Like it's a new thing.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing that since 2005. So it's really not that new. But, Wall Street figured it out. Like they finally figured out this is a pretty good gig. And it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you actually run the numbers, that's the other thing. Like when those guys started running the numbers and going, holy crap, long term, this is a really solid gig. It is. I'm surprised it took them as long as it did.
Yeah. So if I'm an investor, I want to park some money and I want to buy something turnkey, I'm probably going to go after a great property manager who has ties with a company who's building to rent.
Yeah, or does a really solid rehab on nicer, C plus B kind of areas. Yeah. Because you can do really well with those too. I'm not saying don't buy that. We sell a ton of those. We sell a ton of new construction too, but all of it's been renovated. Yeah. I think a lot of people, because they're chasing cash flow, they go buy older D class, C minus kind of properties because on the pro forma, it looks really, really.
Oh man, they look so good on
sexy,
paper.
Right?
I made that mistake.
Everybody had. I started rehabbing in 2000, and that's where I was rehabbing because it's easier. They're less expensive. They're easier to get into. Not a good plan.
I bought my first house for $2,000.
Yeah.
In Birmingham.
Wow, 2000 is pretty good. You beat me. My cheapest one I ever bought was $7,000. Yeah. And I rehabbed it halfway twice. It got broken into and they stole all the stuff out. And then we boarded it up, put it back on the market and sold it. Right. We never finished that house.
Well, I was convinced to lipstick on a pig this thing. Just
also not a good plan.
Just get it livable and get somebody in there.
That is such a bad idea.
It's a terrible idea.
Oh my gosh, but a lot of people do that.
I didn't know any of it. It sounded good to me. Hey, I'm going to do a $15,000 rehab on a house that's pretty much, needs every single thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely learn my lesson.
Quality attendant you get on that house is solid.
Super so solid that they even forget to pay.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it takes, and then where we are in Jefferson County, Alabama, Birmingham area, it's gonna. An eviction's gonna take you. If you get somebody out in 3 to 4 months, you're doing good. But you're probably looking at 6 months just because they're so backed up.
It's insane.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. That's why it's so important that you get a decent property, a really solid property manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Let's shift gears. I want to kind of talk more about you now. We've been kind of just diving right into real estate.
The market's way more interesting than me, but we'll do it.
Maybe not. You've done a lot in your day real estate wise. Take me back to the very beginning for you. How did you even get involved in real estate? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember vividly. I got fired, laid off, downsized, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't feel any better if you call it downsizing. It still sucks. Yeah. And I was a director of sales, so I had a salary and decent comp, and I had all the bills like every other salesperson to go along with that. And then I had been reading a book. I listened to sales tapes and stuff in the car, and then I would read books. I traded a book with one of the salespeople. I traded The Millionaire Mind to a salesperson who had Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. So I didn't even read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'd never heard of it before. I traded these two because I already read that book, so he gave me the one, and in it was, a bunch of stuff about business and being self-employed and growing business, but a lot of real estate. And I had already been interested in real estate. I tried to buy, when we first got married, I tried to buy a fourplex with my VA loan and live in one and rent the other 3, but they wouldn't let me do it because I didn't have any experience, which really irritated me. My recruiter, funny enough, was still in the town. He exited the military as a recruiter, stayed in the town. So when I got home from the military, he was still there, and I still liked him, so it was okay. But he had built this real estate empire, and I was like, wow. I talked to him a little bit about how he did it. So I wanted to go buy this fourplex and start kind of the way he did, and they wouldn't let me do it. So it had always been in the back of my mind. I read this book, then I got fired, and I was like, wow, maybe I should look for a job doing that. So I answered this ad in the newspaper. That's how long ago it was. In the newspaper, it said
the newspaper is one of those things you
it wasn't online.
They used to deliver it to your house, and you could open it up. It's it would get your hands all
That's right.
dirty.
And I had a paper route, so I was intimately familiar with the newspaper.
And I wrote for newspapers.
Anyway,
journalism degree, yeah.
There was an ad for like a millionaire real estate investor seeks apprentice, right? Yeah, you're laughing. You know exactly what that was.
I've run that ad.
I had no idea what that ad was. I thought I was going to a job interview. I called in, signed up for the job interview, and it was a pitch to a weekend seminar. Local guy, down in Springfield,
Missouri.
And so I didn't have any money, so I had my brother-in-law put it on his credit card. We both went down to that seminar because I was broke.
How much was it?
I think it was like $2,500.
Really?
Yeah, so cheap. This is a long time ago.
$2,500 for a weekend seminar is expensive.
Oh no, man! It was really good. So the pitch was great too. It was the whole come down, learn how to do it. I'll teach you my system.
Right.
You go find the deals. You do the work. I'll fund them.
And what year was
50,
this?
50. So it was like
2000.
2000, like in 99, 2000, somewhere around there. And I left that conference stoked. I was looking around the room, and he brought in people who'd done deals. I'm like, if that dude can do it, there's no way I can't do this. So I left, and I tell people all the time, there's 3 things you need to do real estate. Well, pretty much anything, but real estate specifically. You need time, you need money, and you need education. You need those 3 things. But you really only need 2 of the 3 because you can get the other one. So I didn't have any money, but I had just gotten educated. I had all the time in the world. It's very difficult to do real estate if you have no time and you have no money. Even if you get the education, it's really hard because how are you going to do it if you don't have any time? But I was fired. I had all day, every day. So I went out. My first week, found a deal, submitted it through their system, and they denied it.
How'd you find the deal?
I think it was through a referral from a friend.
Okay. Just a house that was...
So it was really not even that bad shape. The roof had just been replaced, but she ran out of money and it had been on the market and never sold. And the problem was when you walked in the door, there was still a stain on the ceiling, and nobody had fixed it. When I went in to negotiate with her, I asked her what she wanted, and she said, "Look, if I can get out of here," because she was in trouble, she was going to get like foreclosed on. And she said, "If I can get out of here with $50,000 so I can move on down the road and rent somewhere, I'd be super happy." So I said, "Okay, well, cool. Well, let's like double or triple that number." And so I put it under contract, and I sent it down to the people, and they denied it. And there was nothing wrong with it. I asked them why they denied it, and they couldn't tell me a reason why they denied it. So I pretty quickly realized that I just wasn't going to get funded on anything. And I mean, they were never going to fund anything. So after about a day of feeling really sorry for myself and trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do now that I had debt and I still didn't have a funder, I realized that the guy had taught us how to do deals with no money. So I thought, well, I'll go down and go give it a try. So I went and put it on an option. And the option consideration, because I didn't have any money, was that I would fix the ceiling. And I said, worst case scenario, you're going to get your ceiling fixed. And, best case scenario, we're both out of here and I make money and you make money and it's all great. But I didn't know how to fix the ceiling either. So I went and I talked my brother into helping me fix the ceiling. I told him I'd split some profits with him because he knew how to do it and I didn't. So we did it. And the first person who walked in bought it. And I made just under, that was back when we double closed that deal. We didn't have to put any money in it other than 1 sheet of drywall and some popcorn spray and paint. I made just under 20 grand and I did it in under 30 days and I was hooked. That same brother, I talked him into going into business with me and we started rehabbing properties. We went and took another class from Robin Thompson, learned her system, went to the exact same type of neighborhood Robin Thompson flips houses in Kansas City and started rehabbing houses in Kansas City. And we did that for several years. And then HUD changed their guidelines. We had to have 12 months on title, seasoning. And we got stuck with a bunch of houses and we were out of business overnight. So we had to reboot again.
What year was that?
2004.
Okay.
And I think it was just in Kansas City. It might have been in a couple of markets because they had some fraud in Kansas City. And so they just changed the guidelines. And overnight we were getting ready to ramp. And then we were out of business, stuck with rental properties, which is how I got into the rental property business. Then I met a guy who was selling properties to people out of state. And I was like, that's strange. Why would anyone want to do that? So he told me why. And he was selling properties in Boise to people in California from Kansas City. And I said, is there a reason why it doesn't work in Kansas City? He said, no. I said, well, how about if I just do this in Kansas City for you, and let's open up Kansas City. So that's how I got into helping people buy rental properties. Wow. And I've been doing that since 2005.
Wow.
Thousands and thousands of properties later.
Yeah. When did you stop doing working on the houses?
2004. So in 2005, I started negotiating with builders. Back, that builder rent thing.
Mm-hmm. That thing that was just new. Invented a few years ago.
Yeah. So we were negotiating with builders in 2005, and we sold. I think in 2005 we sold somewhere around 250 houses in Kansas City.
These are houses that someone else fixed up or built in that case.
Yeah, no fixed up.
And someone who was putting the tenant in.
We just partnered with a property management company.
So you partnered with
actually in like 2000, I want to say 6 or 7, we opened our own property management company, and then pretty quickly realized we didn't want to be in that business and sold it.
Yeah. But you partner with a property management company, they put a tenant in, you're just taking that as a package deal and you're selling up.
Yeah.
And then now your job becomes, I've got to find buyers. I've got to become a marketer and find buyers.
Both buyers and inventory. You have to have all of it. And in addition to that, you need the best lenders, because rate matters.
So you just became this one-stop shop for an investor who was looking to park some cash.
Yeah. And then pretty quickly after that, we realized a lot of the people we were talking to needed 1031 exchange. They needed an accommodator. They needed CPAs. So we really did. We became a place where you could get everything that has to do with running this business. We have the connections for all of it.
So you never owned
cost segregation
anything.
Studies, all of it.
You never owned anything as far as like real estate goes.
That we were selling?
Yeah.
No, until the market crashed. And then we started buying at the auction and selling. Yeah.
But that was your business though.
That's because we had to. The whole business changed.
Right. But then it changed back.
Yes. And then we were negotiating with banks instead of builders because the banks had taken all the properties back. So before they actually got to auction, we would try to go get big blocks, and we would say, look, instead of dumping these all on the market at whatever price you're dumping them on the market and ruining the market, how about if we sell them? There's still going to be a discount, but how about if we don't discount them 50%? That's absurd, and you're destroying. Kansas City didn't have that problem. Birmingham probably didn't have that problem either. They didn't inflate the prices and sell way too many houses. The market was still there for the properties. Mm-hmm. The market was getting slaughtered because of the banks dumping the properties. So we tried to help the banks understand, like, this is not a nationwide problem. Like in Florida, we were buying houses for literally like 10 cents on the dollar. It was insane. I mean, it was absolutely insane. And the same thing was happening in Vegas, and same thing was happening in Phoenix. It was crazy.
So you were not just doing this in Kansas City. You were, by that point, you were doing it everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, between 2005 and 2007, we were selling in Boise and Oklahoma City and Omaha, Nebraska. The market crashed, and then we moved back because we had stopped selling in Boise because, I mean, the numbers didn't work. We moved back into Boise and started buying up all of the stuff that was going back to the banks. And same thing in Phoenix, and then the same thing in several markets in Florida. And then the Midwest always works. So we never left there. It always works. But people who bought from us in 2010 to 2014, 15, 16, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
I wish I'd have kept every house we
sold.
sold.
So Ron, I've talked about that a lot. Like, some people ask me what's the biggest mistake I ever made in real estate.
Yeah, selling all those properties.
I got into it in 2012, and between 2014 and 2016, that was like, I was the biggest wholesaler, definitely in Birmingham, maybe in the state of Alabama. And it's like, looking back now, I'm getting these houses. I'm sure you've heard of these towns like Center Point in Alabama, where it's just a super hot zip code, or it was at the time. I bought an office building there in that zip code because it was such a hot area where investors were buying. I'm getting these houses. These are 3-bed, 2-bath, if not 4-bed, 2-bath on the main level, full basements, probably unfinished, but 2-car garage, all brick houses. Mm-hmm. I'm getting them for $25,000, $30,000, $35,000. Yep. These houses are worth $250,000, $300,000, $350,000 today.
Yeah, talk to me about Florida. Talk to me about Florida when I was buying houses for $35,000. These are brand new, never lived in houses. Gosh. And I was selling them for $75,000, thinking I'd hit the lottery.
And I'm wholesaling for $10,000, thinking I'd hit the lottery.
Dude, like I'm just like, and we bought duplexes down there for like $70,000. They were renting for $1,200 a side. And the problem, like that property would sell for far more than we could. We couldn't sell them because there were no comps.
No comps. So probably a lot of people too couldn't get funding, couldn't get financed back then too.
You could. That was the thing. Like you actually could get it. The problem wasn't that you couldn't get money. The problem was that there was no comps.
Interesting.
So I mean, a bunch of these deals, and there was a bunch of companies out there that were selling them for way more, but they were selling them for cash, which probably wasn't a bad idea. But.
Ron, is it with interest rates the way they are today, and with all I guess all the negatives that we've talked about with real estate today? I mean, it seems like it's never a bad time to buy.
So long as you're not trying to flip the new construction property you just bought, you're going to be fine over time.
What do you mean by that? Flip?
Look, some people think that you can buy a property and next year you can just sell it and it's no big deal. It's not liquid like that. There's costs to sell a property. And so if you pay anything even close to full price for a property, even if you're 10% under, you're going to make no money. And odds are you're going to lose a little bit of money, even with the cash flow you got during that year.
That's true with any property that you buy at retail, right?
Yeah. Move forward a few years, that same property that quote unquote isn't that great of a deal will buy you 2 properties without you putting another dime in it.
Yeah.
And so what I tell people is, in order to win the game of baseball, you do not have to hit a home run every time you step up to the plate. You have to get on base. And the team that gets on base better than the other team consistently still scores, still wins the game. And occasionally the pitcher will throw a ball perfectly aligned with your swing, your single swing, right? You're not swinging for the fences. And it'll still go over the fence because it was pitched right. You have no control over the pitcher or the angle of the ball. All you can do is control the bat. You can get on base with a bunt. You just have to get on base, and then you have to get on base again and get on base again.
You can get hit by a pitch. The pitcher can throw. The pitcher
I wouldn't recommend that one. I've done that one before. That means you just have to hold it longer. In the real estate world, getting hit with the pitch is not the greatest, but you can get on base that way. It's true. Sure.
But I thought you were about to say, which I was thinking in my mind where you were going. You went a different direction. Pitcher can throw a wild pitch too. Like the market can do something that you don't. You can advance runners just by the market just doing something completely unexpected.
Yeah, but there's some things that don't translate. Like stealing doesn't work. That doesn't work. But for the most part, in order to win the game, you really only need singles. And most people are consistently trying to hit it over the fence. And if everyone that a team puts out is only swinging for the fences, they will lose the game. The numbers don't work. Right. It just doesn't work. So
just holding on to property for long periods of time seems to be the way to go. And and I've always told people the cash flow, I think you even mentioned it earlier, the $200, $300 whatever it is, it's not changing anyone's life. It's kind of insignificant, not insignificant, but it's not moving the needle. Let's put that money in an account, and that's your reason. Let's build that up and let that be your reserve account, because things are going to happen with property.
100%.
Things are going to go vacant. Insurance costs could go up, taxes could go up, somebody could tear up a property. Those things are going to inevitably happen. So let's just build up this reserve account. Leave the cash flow alone. You don't need it. Just let the magic work. Let the time work. Time's on your side. And it's just...
Yeah, I mean, so some simple calcs that people can do, unless you're driving right now. Don't do it if you're driving. But the rule of 72 tells you how long it takes to double your money. You can just the interest rate, you divide it into 72, it'll tell you how many. So if it's 7%, it takes 10 years, right? So simple math. And let's just walk through a crappy deal real quick, and then let's put some math on it. So let's say your cash on cash return isn't great, right? It's 7%, which, I mean, some people listening will be like, well, that's actually not bad, Ron, but you can get that. It's not that hard to get that. Let's say the amortization schedule in the first year, which is the worst year, by the way, every year after that, you're paying more principal down. But in the first year, let's say that return is only like 3%. Okay, it's probably closer to 4.5, but let's say it's 3. Now we're at 10. At 10%, your money's going to double every 7 years. Okay, but we're not done, because we still get about 3.6%. So we'll call it 4 to make the math easier. We're still going to get 4% on taxes, because we get to depreciate that every single year. That's without a cost segregation study and doing all the cool stuff with 100% bonus depreciation that just got voted back in. Without doing any of that nonsense, just straight up regular depreciation. And now we have appreciation. And let's just say that we're 20% down on this property, and we're getting 3% appreciation, which is kind of pathetic,
It's kind of average for Birmingham over,
right. So
over
Midwest,
time.
Boring market, just like...
It's until recently, until the last 4 or 5 years, Birmingham was historically 1.5 to 2%. Historically.
Then, and in the majority of the Midwest states, you can get 3%. It's just boring. So this isn't one of the states where it's going to go crazy. It's just kind of, it's going to plod along. But let's do 2% in Birmingham. Let's just do a 2%.
That's way more than that in the last 5 years.
Yeah, for sure. But let's be super conservative.
Yeah.
Because we're at 14% right now, right? And let's do, we're leveraged in at 20% down, so we got to multiply that by 5.
Yep.
So that's 10%, right? So we're getting a 2% appreciation rate, and we're getting a 10% return. So now, all of a sudden, we're at 24%. I dare anyone to go and get that and go ahead and do the calc on it. I think it's like 3-something years on 24%.
Yeah.
So every 3 years, your money doubles.
Yeah.
I don't know anywhere else you can do that.
No.
That means in 3 years, if your money doubles, you should be able to buy another house for free that your house produced.
Yep.
So if during that 3 years you have enough cash to buy another house, now you have 2 assets out there, 3 assets out there, and those 3 assets are going to produce each another one in the next 3 to 4 years, right? That's how you grow a portfolio. It's boring. That's a crappy investment.
In real estate.
That's crappy. Because you just said at the beginning that, the real estate guys are mad because they can't get 18 to 20 anymore on the cash flow side. They forget about all of it. You start stacking those numbers up, even if they're small numbers, and if you're leveraged into the property, the returns are disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, 24% return is disgusting.
Yeah.
Great
and
way.
you have a hard asset. You have something tangible that you could sell if you needed to.
Let's just say that the 10% doesn't happen. Let's say the market goes flat for the whole time that you own it, you're still getting 14.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show me something else that during a horrible time in the market, when it is either flat or is depreciating, that you still get 14% on your money.
Right. And Ron, this is the boring part of real estate that we don't really talk about on this channel much, on our podcast and stuff. We talk, we're doing property walkthroughs. We get the sexy, the house flips, the really exciting things, right? Let's turn this hotel into apartments. It's like boots on the ground real estate. This is like all this boring stuff that the financial institutions and wizards are kind of like behind the calculator. This isn't fun, exciting stuff.
If I can go and flip a house and make $50,000 in a month, that's sexier to talk about than making $50,000 over 3 years.
Yeah.
However, I didn't have to do anything to make $50,000 over 3 years.
And you're holding this thing. You own this asset.
So let me tell you how the boring actually turns out, because I have a lady who bought from me in 2006 who's just now doing a 1031 exchange. She bought a house in 2006. That house actually didn't perform so hot because she held it, and then of course the market tanked, so she had to hold it longer. I mean, the whole time it did okay, but I mean, it took a long time for that market, for that to come back. But she started buying again after the crash. She bought several properties, and now she's doing a 1031 exchange that will buy her $5 million worth of property and $200,000 worth of cash flow from 2006 until now. It's a long time. People, that's not as sexy until overnight she's a success. She's got a $5 million worth of real estate, producing $200,000 for the rest of her life and going up in value. And all of her friends will be like, wow, how did you do that?
Right.
She's like, well, I just did a 1031 exchange. Yeah, but there was like 19 years worth of growth that happened during all of that, right? And that's what I tell people. And I also tell all of the rehabbers, the flippers, all the people, like, if you're not taking some of your profits and buying assets that over time work while you're not working, that's not smart. That is the thing that I wish I had done way back. I wish I had kept way more property.
One of the greatest skills that I teach people that I think that you need to learn when you're getting in real estate, you're doing the real estate, you're not the passive person. You have to learn how to buy a great deal. You have to learn how to identify a great deal and learn how to buy a great deal. If you do that and you hang on to enough of them through the year, don't sell them all off, don't do all the flips, don't do all the wholesales, hang on to just enough of them.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting there talking about your returns are through the roof because you bought at 40 and 50 cents on the dollar versus buying at retail.
Yeah, I mean, and we just did a crappy deal. Imagine what happens if you're the person who has the marketing engine that can go get a really crazy great deal. Yeah. All it does is just speed up the process. That's it right. Takes a 19-year process and turns it into a 8-year process, 5-year process to get that kind of a return.
Yeah.
Real estate is incredibly powerful.
Yes. We're going to leave it right there, Ron. There's a million other things we could talk about for sure, but I want to respect you.
So many.
Respect your time. Thank you so much for inviting me into your home, man. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for driving all the way here.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. So
yeah, thank you for coming and hanging out with me for a little while.
Thanks so much for listening to today's show. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you got any value today, please take 30 seconds and leave us a quick review. To get connected with me or to become a part of the Board Advisors community, go to boamastermind.com. That's boamastermind.com. We'll see you guys on the next one.